Donald Trump's campaign has been using an attack against Joe Biden. Trump himself has been calling him Sleepy Joe. And basically, they've been talking about concerns about Biden's mental health. So I'm going to be completely honest with you guys. I had concerns about Joe Biden's mental health, at least for a while there. He had some really bad initial debate performances. There were videos where he appeared to lose focus and he would ramble and say ridiculous things. And so for a while, like I said, I was quite concerned. And Donald Trump, of course, noticed this, and his campaign capitalized on it, which is interesting, right? So now I'm not as concerned about that as much anymore because I realize that, Joe Biden's not a spring chicken, okay? He's getting a little older. He loses focus when you get old. You ramble. You forget some things. Joe Biden's not as sharp as he used to be. But to say that he is in mental decline, well, I mean, look at Donald Trump versus Joe Biden. It's obvious one of them seems to be in much bigger decline than the other. Do some comparisons, right? Because, again, the president of the United States, Donald Trump, also tends to ramble, lose focus, and forget. But Trump's campaign team, like I said, they're hammering this point, and they, clip out videos that get millions of views. But this doesn't seem to be having an impact at the polls, right? As Fox News host Sandra Smith is going to point out to Trump campaign communications director Erin Perini, which it's kind of funny because I read her name and the way that it's spelled, I originally thought it was Aaron Perrin. I don't know. That's kind of an interesting tidbit there, like Aaron Perrin. Oh, no, Perini. It's got to look all, or it's got to sound all fancy and not all the way that it looks. But nonetheless, nonsensical point, and actually what is a fairly serious story. But again, she goes on Fox News, and Sandra Smith decides to challenge her on that line of attack. And we've got a couple of clips on that, so I'll show you the first one.
Questioning Joe Biden's mental capacity to be commander-in-chief. But a new Fox News poll shows that more likely voters believe Biden is better equipped mentally to be in the White House than President Trump. Let's bring in Trump 2020 press communications director Erin Perini. She joins us now. Erin, good morning to you. I know you're traveling with the president's campaign. You're in Wisconsin this morning. Appreciate you coming on. So seeing how this is not working in President Trump's favor in the polls, why stick with this message?
Well, I would argue that it is working in the polls. President Trump in that Fox poll is at his strongest standing since going against Joe Biden, and has cut Joe Biden's lead by 7 points in that poll. And the people that are trying to change their campaign messaging right now and their strategy are the Biden campaign.
All right. So, look, that's pretty interesting, right? It is working. But the poll that she just shows that people are actually more concerned about Donald Trump's mental decline, that he can't handle the presidency. So, no, it's obviously not working. Way to come up with literal alternative facts. But, hey, she is right that in some polls, Donald Trump, look, Joe Biden's lead is narrowing over Donald Trump. He's catching up in certain places. Florida's a good example. The race is tightened there. And, look, Florida is a very important swing state. And so, who's in Florida? No, there's a large contingent of the Latino community. Now, there's, of course, Cubans who are generally pretty conservative, but there's also generally the Latino community overall, which she's also right. There's, a lot of Latinos not exactly happy with Joe Biden. Why is that? Well, again, if you can remember from the Democratic primary, the Latino community actually was massively in favor of Bernie Sanders. Why? It's because Bernie Sanders actually offered real policy positions. Now, if Joe Biden wants to fix that, which I would assume if he wants to win, he probably should, right? His campaign should start going hard on progressive policy. I would say adopting Medicare for all. I would say adopting, since, California is currently on fire right now, a Green New Deal. That would be the best way to go. Why? Because, again, the Latino community, and of course Americans all across the political spectrum, they want ideas. They want progressive ideas. Things, again, like healthcare during a pandemic. It's frustrating and incredibly stupid, the fact that Biden's campaign is focusing only on, we're not Donald Trump. That's why the polls are tightening, okay? Understand that that's the reason. But anyway, he's not Donald Trump, though. That's their focus, okay? We get it. Orange man bad. What are you going to do when Donald Trump's gone, right? Are you going to do any policies that help the American people? You are the challenger. You were supposed to put Trump on defense. Instead, you're letting Donald Trump do what he does best, and that's go on the offense, which worked really well in 2016 because he was, quote unquote, going against the establishment. Now, not so much because he's been president for 4 years. And so, Joe Biden, you're the challenger. Act like it, okay? Challenge him. And by the way, on that, Smith is going to point out some other things that Joe Biden could challenge Donald Trump more effectively on when it comes to policy. Take a look.
Voters' biggest concerns: unemployment, 87%, coronavirus, 83%, crime and violence, 64%. These are huge issues for voters. So why make Joe Biden's alleged cognitive decline a centerpiece of President Trump's re-election campaign?
Well, it's certainly a question the American people need to ask. Listen, if there's a crisis in the world, it's 3 a.m. Who do you want answering the phone at the White House? President Trump, who has an incredibly strong foreign policy record delivering for the American people, protecting our people, or Joe Biden, whose own campaign couldn't even make a declarative statement on whether or not he uses a teleprompter for interviews. We know what this president has done. The American people are hearing about it, and that's why the president is on the rise.
Okay, Aaron, the president took it a step further this weekend, and he suggested that Joe Biden is taking some sort of performance-enhancing drugs. Here's the president. But the president's suggesting he's on some sort of drugs and questioning his cognitive decline. I mentioned it's not working for him in the polls, but when do you decide that that's not working and pivot back to the election, pivot back to American safety, pivot back to getting people back to work as millions of people are still out of jobs in this country, Aaron?
We're talking about everything. Like I just said, the president is asking questions, and Joe Biden should answer them.
That's not how that works. I'm just saying, no, Joe Biden is the challenger. Donald Trump is the incumbent. Donald Trump has to, defend his tenure for the last 4 years, defend his presidency. Again, you're trying to turn it around and make this exactly like 2016, which it is not. And so, look, you want to defend your record, right? Well, Donald Trump's going to have a really, really difficult time. And his advisors know this, right? Coronavirus, for example, nearly 200,000 dead. We're in a deep economic recession. We've got, massive, if you care about this, right, massive debt, mostly from tax cuts for the rich, failure to give the supporters a wall. I still don't see a wall, and I certainly didn't see Mexico pay for it. The consistent lying, of course, the fact that he was downplaying the virus and he admitted to it, even though he knew it was deadly. And then lying when Americans began dying, and has continued lying about the virus. Biden should be on the attack about all of that. Now, as far as the 3 a.m. morning question, I always hate that question because it seems ridiculous, but all right. No, I don't trust Donald Trump, even though Donald Trump would probably still be awake at 3 a.m. tweeting on Adderall. I'm just saying, you want to talk about performance-enhancing drugs, you might want to explain all the sniffles. I'm just saying, I don't think Donald Trump had a cold. But back to the important points here, right? So the polls on Trump's handling, as she pointed out, of this crisis are absolutely abysmal. He cannot defend his record. So as a result, they're throwing everything that they got at Biden, right? Everything at the wall, hoping that something will stick. It is amazing how liberals didn't seem to quite understand that, right? Establishment liberals are like, no, you don't understand. We can't nominate somebody like Bernie Sanders because they're going to call him a communist, a leftist, and all that stuff. Whereas they're doing the exact same thing to Joe Biden, calling him a left-wing, anti-cop Antifa, right? And this is a guy who was very pro-police, someone who authored the 94 crime bill, who said, oh, you know what, cops should be able to shoot people in the leg instead of shooting them dead. That guy's the so-called leftist Antifa. You've got to be kidding me. No, under Obama Biden, we had crackdowns in a lot of different places. For example, Standing Rock's a great example of how the Obama administration allowed for these crackdowns to happen on Native protesters. And so people that were out there basically calling for justice for a community that has been basically, repressed or oppressed. And so, look, Trump is a disaster. And so people are not worried, though, about Joe Biden's mental state because we already have someone in office that's clearly insane. I mean, the question is now, and I think it's an important question, are you better off than you were 4 years ago? And there are certainly some people in Trump's camp who will say absolutely yes, right? Now, that's going to be members of very wealthy and upper middle class people, mostly suburban whites. And that's, of course, suburban white men who overwhelmingly go to Donald Trump. As for everyone else, and yes, there is a country that's just, for other people, other people than suburban whites. The answer to that question for them is no, we're not better off than we were 4 years ago. And so that's the message I think that they need to continue pushing. Hey, all the stuff that you say is going to happen in Biden's America right now is happening in Donald Trump's America. And so are you better off? Objective reality says no.